Welcome to S'moresStories, where we tell campfire stories. Our first story is the woman in apartment 6A. There was a girl named Harper. After college, she moved into an apartment in an older building where that building sat quietly at the edge of town. It was an affordable place that she liked, and it had some character to it. Some creaky wooden floors, yellow wallpaper, and a strange low hum that came from the vents when the heat kicked in. She didn't mind the quirks, but she liked being on her own. There was only one other apartment on her floor, which was 6B, but she never saw anybody going in and out of it. Still, on her very first night, she heard furniture moving next door, which was kind of weird. When she heard it, it was around 2 a.m. It was dragging, thudding, an unmistakable sound of a heavy dresser being moved and shoved around across the floor, back and forth, back and forth. Harper assumed that the neighbor was just another late night mover trying to settle in. The next morning, she saw the landlord in the hallway and joked about the night owl next door. The landlord gave her a puzzled look like, "What are you talking about?" And he told her, "No one lives in 6B. That room's been empty for the last months, so I'm not sure what you're talking about." Harper laughed. Maybe he was mistaken, she was thinking to herself. Maybe someone had just moved in and the paperwork hadn't caught up yet. But every night, the sounds continued. There was always footsteps scraping, and sometimes the softest tapping on the wall between her apartment and the one next door. So, one night, just for fun, she knocked back when she heard the knocking. She went, "Knock, knock." It was quiet. All of a sudden, she heard 3 taps on the wall. Tap, tap, tap. But slowly. She wasn't sure what that was, so she went back to sleep. The next time she saw the landlord again, she pressed him again. "Are you sure 6B is empty?" she asked. He looked tired and worn. He glanced over his shoulder before replying, but this time he lowered his voice. He said, "You're not the first tenant to ask about 6A. And then she asked him, "Why don't you rent it out?" He hesitated and said, "Last woman who lived there, she never really left." That night, Harper couldn't go to sleep. She laid in her bed staring at the wall, waiting and waiting and waiting, seeing if she would hear something back. Around 3:11 a.m., she finally heard something. She heard some crying. Soft, broken, as if someone was trying to stay quiet but couldn't hold it in anymore. She figured she might as well put her ear to the wall and listen. As she did it, the sound was very close. So close like the woman was only inches away, curled up on the floor on the other side. Then all of a sudden, she heard a whisper coming through the vent above her. It said, "He won't let me out." Harper panicked and called the landlord. Nobody answered. She did something she didn't think that she could do and shouldn't have done. But she went into the hallway and stood in front of apartment 6B. The door locked. Wrong, weird, and odd. Swollen and warped like it hadn't been opened in years as she was trying to open it. But what really caught her attention were the scratches around the lock. Looked like someone had tried to claw the way out. She leaned in, and as she heard breathing, then without warning, bang! Something slammed on the door from the inside. She ran back to her apartment. The next morning, apartment 6B was nailed shut, locked, It was boarded, there was wooden planks on it, metal brackets as if someone was trying to seal something inside. The landlord never spoke to her, and for a while, the sounds stopped. Until last night at 3:11 a.m., a single knock on her door. Harper tiptoed to the peephole and looked out. No one was there, but on the floor, leading from apartment 6B to her front door, was a trail of wet footprints. That one wasn't that scary, so let's try this one here. This one is called The Disappearance at Dovewood Trail. It was a crisp October morning, and four friends went into the forest together. This trail was very familiar to them. It was called the Dovewood Trail, and had been a weekend favorite for them for years and years and years. It was a nice, quiet, scenic, with just enough wilderness to feel like an escape. They weren't the only ones out that day. There were other hikers, dog walkers, nothing out of the ordinary, until they lost track of time. It started with the wrong turn. Lucas spotted a narrow side path that seemed to loop back towards the main trail. It wasn't on any map, but they were all good sports and followed without much thought. They walked for nearly 20 minutes. Then it became 30 minutes, and the trees began to change. The leaves turned darker, the air thickened, sound seemed muted as if they were moving deeper into something else, not just the forest, but a different kind of space. Then they noticed the silence. No birds, no rustling, no wind. Even their phones had lost signal. That's when Anna disappeared. She had been right behind them, talking, laughing. All of a sudden, nothing. No scream, no footsteps, no trail. She was just gone. They called her name, searched in circles, left markers, and hours had passed. When the sun began to set, they all started panicking. Lucas ran back the way they came, trying to retrace their steps. The forest seemed twisted, paths not where they should be. By nightfall, they stumbled back to the ranger station, shaken and missing a friend. The search team scoured the trails for 3 days. Drones, dogs, nothing. No signs of Anna. No footsteps, no torn clothes, no scent trail. She had just vanished out of nowhere. But on the 4th day, she returned. She walked out of the woods alone, barefoot, wearing the same jacket she had on when she vanished, though it had looked untouched as if no time had passed. Her face was blank. Her eyes looked wrong. She didn't speak, not at first. Later, when they pressed her, she whispered one thing. It wasn't a forest. She wouldn't elaborate. She never hiked again, and a few months later, she moved without telling anyone where she was going. And the strange part was Anna's phone, which had died on the trail, pinged again after she reappeared. The GPS showed she had walked briefly along a route that didn't exist, a stretch of the trail that had been closed off for over 30 years after a landslide buried it. But there was no landslide anymore. The terrain was flat, like something had erased the damage or rewound it. Some say it was a time slip. Others say Anna stepped into a place she wasn't supposed to find. Whatever happened, she came back different. And whatever she saw, she never told a soul. Our next story is The Voicemail. It happened 2 years after Eric died. A car crash that was instant. There was no pain. His sister Riley never saw the body. She didn't go to the hospital. She couldn't. She wasn't ready. So when they buried him, it still didn't feel real. She never deleted his number from her phone. She just couldn't. Sometimes late at night, she'd scroll through the contacts and pause when she saw her brother's name, Eric. Sometimes her thumb would hover over the call button just for a second, just to pretend. Then one night, her phone rang at 1:43 a.m. An unknown number. Riley usually ignored those, but something made her pick it up. There was only static. And then, a faint voice. She heard, "Hey." Her blood ran cold. It was Eric. She knew that voice. She'd grown up with him. Heard it shout during video games, laughed over stupid memes, break at our father's funeral. I'm cold. Riley couldn't breathe. "Eric?" she whispered. There was more static, and then silence, and then the phone hung up. The next morning, she checked her call history. No record of any incoming calls. No unknown number. But it was her voicemail. There was a new message. No number attached, just the word unknown. She pressed play. At first, only static. Then, she heard "It's dark." Silence followed for 10 long seconds. Then faintly, she nearly missed it, but she heard, "He won't let me leave." She dropped the phone, heart slamming against her ribs. Sleep became impossible. Her thoughts spiraled. Was it some kind of joke? A glitch? She tried tracing the number. Nothing. Her provider had no record of the call. Riley convinced herself it was grief, stress, a dream, until the next voicemail. This one had no static, just a whisper. "Don't come here." Then a new sound, scraping, like calls, like nails on wood. She changed the number, bought a new phone, and for a while it stopped. But a few nights ago, as she passed a mirror in the hallway, her phone buzzed in her pocket. Voicemail. No number, just an unknown contact. Just one sentence. "Stop looking for me." She hadn't looked, not in weeks. She'd done everything to forget, but somehow he knew. And now, when she walks past mirrors, sometimes she sees him. Not the way he was, but the way he might look now. Thank you for listening to S'more Stories by the Campfire. Thank you.